Members, welcome to the Legislative Commission on Metropolitan Governance. It's an opportunity for us to get together as more Metro-type members to discuss issues that are a little more relevant to the Met Council and to our districts. So I appreciate everybody adjusting their schedules to try to be here. We had a couple different times that didn't work out, so we ended up with this. So we were waiting for a couple other members, but we'll just get started. So I'll call the meeting to order. We need approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Representative or Senator Pratt moves approval of the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Just all moved, right? All right, the minutes are approved. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. We do have kind of a full agenda, just because it's an opportunity. It's hard to get both the House and Senate members together, so we kind of have a full agenda. So we'll stick to the agenda, and if we can keep our questions as succinct as possible, and to our testifiers, I appreciate the Met Council being willing to be with us today and adjusting our time. So I know that some of the presenters that we'd asked to be here had different commitments, but I still wanted to engage in the conversation among members and with other representatives of the Met Council. So keep that in mind as we ask questions, and we'll continue the conversations.
Yep,
Representative
Mr.
Rumbeck?
Chair, is this a 2-hour meeting or 1.5-hour meeting?
We have a pretty hard break at 2 o'clock.
Okay, thanks.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, okay.
We don't have to go until
You're right.
2 o'clock, but certainly after 2 o'clock,
You're right.
I know other members have commitments, as do I.
I'm with that.
So those in the audience, thank you for being with us. My name is Representative John Kosnick. I represent the city of Lakeville, or Lakeville District. One of the issues that we worked on last year in the local government committee was metropolitan staggered terms. We worked with Representative Masin and Representative Fisher. And Representative Masin, if you would like to present your bill and ideas to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. This is a bill that we did cover last year in the House. It made it out of the House committee. We know that there are a number of concerns about Met Council. Hopefully, this staggered term bill will give more representation to the cities and counties. And what I'd like to do is ask representatives from certain organizations that are really sponsoring this to come forward and testify.
That would be appropriate. I know that there was one person asked if they could make comments, and as time allows, we'll try to accommodate that. So I think we have 3 testifiers. Welcome to the commission. Please introduce yourself for those that aren't familiar with you, and then proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Kosnick and members. Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Nauman. I'm the Executive Director of Metro Cities, which is an association representing cities in the 7-county metropolitan area. And we have the distinction of representing cities at the legislature as well as at the Metropolitan Council. I'll be very brief today. Metro Cities does support the provisions that are contained in House File 192, and I do have, and I will hand out or ask a staff if they could assist me with handing out just Metro City's general policy on regional governance. It is an issue that is of strong interest to the organization's city officials and members. And just very quickly, the policy that Metro Cities does support and the provisions that are contained in House File 192 do support staggered terms for Metropolitan Council members. That has been a longstanding policy position for the organization. And Metro Cities also just supports provisions in the bill that do expand the nominating committee, which is the statutory committee that does convene before the appointment of members by the governor to recommend those members. We do support having that committee expanded and increased to include a majority of local officials, which is included in House File 192. In addition, Metro Cities does support provisions also contained in the bill that do add what we would call added transparency for the process, including the public notification of members before they are appointed, which essentially allows for a public comment period for members by the public before the governor makes those appointments. I will end there, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you today.
Thank you, Ms. Nauman. Representative Mason, I believe there was another testifier.
There is, and if she would
Okay.
come down as well. Thank you.
And maybe members will, if there are some questions, we'll wait until the couple testifiers are done, and then we can have our discussion. Welcome to the committee. Please say your name and then proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, my name is Puhua Hoffman. I'm the Executive Director for the Citizens League, and I am here in support of House File 192 that is being heard here in this Commission on Metropolitan Government today. The proposed concepts and changes to law governing the Metropolitan Council in House File 192 are consistent with the positions of the Citizens League. The Citizens League positions resulted from recommendations by a diverse task force that was convened in 2015 through 2016. The task force included local officials, representatives of the business community, nonprofit sector, and citizens. Over the course of 6 months, the task force studied and debated various governance structures, including ideas that are represented in House File 192. The Citizens League supports staggering the terms of Met Council members, expanding the nominating committee, adding more local officials to the committee, and increasing transparency and accountability in the selection process. So for this reason, we support House File 192 that is being sponsored by Representative Masin. And I have some handouts here for you.
Okay.
We can have those distributed. It lists the members of that 2015-16 task force and also is an executive summary of our recommendations.
Okay. We'll get those distributed. And I think the next testifier is approaching. So if you can stick around for some questions, if there are some.
I'd be happy to.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Claire Roebling, and I represent Scott County. And we do appreciate Representative Mason's attempt to try and provide more accountability and clarity through the selection process for the Met Council. As many of you have heard before, our county and several others as well are truly looking for a bigger change for how the Met Council governance structure is set up. And our proposal is to have elected officials serve on the Met Council like they do for all of the other MPOs, metropolitan planning organizations around the country. I know ours is grandfathered in because we were one of the very first MPOs, but we still believe that for better accountability, we would like to see elected officials serving on the council. I know that the staggered terms are something we've talked about before, and it could help prevent all new members coming on the council at one time. But in reality, we still would have the governor having the majority of those members as his appointees, especially in an 8-year term. If a governor is serving for 8 years, as many of them have in the recent past, so if the first time a governor would be elected, he'd get to appoint half of the members. And then in 2 years, he would get to appoint the other half. So then for those final 2 years of that first 4-year term, he'd have all the appointees. And then if he moved into another 4-year term, he'd have them all for another 4 years, meaning 6 years they would be the same person's appointees. And in reality, that's who those members are then accountable to, is to the governor. And we want them accountable to the wider population, to the public in general. We also appreciate having some members representing the counties on the nominating committees. But again, it still goes back to the governor has complete discretion in who he's going to appoint. He does not have to go off the nominating list. He does, in here, have to consult with the nominating committee and provide a reason why he would not choose off of the nominating list, but he still has complete discretion. And that continues to be a concern of ours as well. So I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
We appreciate the comments, Commissioner. Members, are there any questions, discussion? Representative or Senator Osmic, please.
Careful. To the author, I have a couple questions. One, we are currently, as it's been alluded to, we are currently non-compliant with the federal regulations regarding NPOs. What in this bill moves us towards compliance? Is there anything in the bill that moves us towards compliance?
No, this bill is just strictly concerned with the actual members.
Okay. Mr. Chair, another question.
Senator Osmic.
The word accountability has been brought up at least 3 times by testifiers. What part of this bill improves accountability of Met Council representatives to the districts that they represent?
The fact is that it does give more authorization or involvement from the local entities, meaning cities and counties. And as a former city council member, I can tell you when I initially served on the council, we had literally no contact with our Met Council representative. And I think over the last few years, it's been much, much better. And I will give you that. But the point is, this is for the Metro Council, and this is mainly dealing with the cities and counties. So the impetus, it should be to get more accountability to the cities and counties.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Osmic.
Well, Representative Masin, I highly disagree with you that there is any accountability change in this bill. Any. I lived on a city council for 11 years, so we have that in common. I lived with a Met Council rep who was notoriously not doing what we asked her to do. And her answer was that she was not pursuing what Mound needed, the city I was in, because it was the governor's prerogative that he believed in X, Y, or Z. This particular case was about affordable housing, and that she reports to the governor and she needs to support the governor and the governor's initiatives, not the city council in the area that she represents. This bill does nothing to change that accountability. It does change the name or change the influence of a nominating committee, but again, in page 3, starting on line 17, the governor can go off the board anytime, any place, anywhere he wants to with written discussion or written notification to individuals. So if the governor wanted to appoint someone that has not even been seen, he can. The nominating committee is, as far as I'm concerned, is just the same as changing the deck chairs on the Titanic. There does nothing. I guess I have had multiple bills in the legislature, one including completely wiping them out and sending all their jurisdictional control back to other agencies. But I have multiple different options that have been heard but not acted upon that actually would make them accountable, that they have to go to their city councils and actually have to gain support from at least half of the city councils of which they're appointed to. It's a unique idea. It makes it more difficult, but it also brings in accountability that these Met Council reps have to be paying attention to their city councils and not just fulfilling what the governor says, because that's not what their role is. So I guess I will disagree with you as far as what this does. To be perfectly honest, I don't see it really doing much of anything. But thank you.
Representative Masin.
Can I respond to that? Yes.
Yes.
We have not, for as long as I can remember, there has been dissatisfaction or controversy concerning the Met Council. And we have never been able to make changes, at least in the last decade or so. This, to me, is an attempt to at least get us moving in the right direction. I believe, and from what I'm hearing you say, I think you're looking for something, a major change, and I don't think we're going to be able to get that done this year. So my suggestion is we get done what we can get done this year, and we can be working on some of the other aspects as we're going forward.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to kind of interrupt this proceeding and make a motion.
We are on agenda item number 2, so a motion would be out of order.
No, a motion would supersede any conversation or debate. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we hold a new election for chair of this commission.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Members, we have testifiers with us. We have an audience with us. And I think we should ask Senator Dibble to, well, I'll rule you're out of order, both by statute and by Masons.
Mr. Chair, I would then vote to overcome your ruling and call for a roll call.
Senator Dibble, you know, we've worked and talked about the issue that you're concerned with. Here we are in a public forum. You want to bring more partisanship into this. I think the opportunity of this committee is for Metro members to come together, share ideas, and hopefully come together and have dialogue and move for better governance and share that dialogue together so that we can advance for the state of Minnesota better governance. If you want to try to play politics in front of the public here as much as you want, we can have that discussion. But I think people are here ready to have a serious discussion on a number of topics. And I'm going to move for a recess.
Mr. Chair, before you move for recess, I have a question to add.
Thank you for, I'll call the commission back out of recess. I appreciate the patience of the public and those that are here to testify. Unfortunately, probably saw politics the way that you don't want to see it, and then I'm embarrassed, and I think Minnesota should be embarrassed as well. We will resume, move on to item number 5, presentation of Representative Torkelson, House File 3110, Light Rail Transit Safety Assessment. Oh, sorry, I was waiting for you. Welcome to the committee, Representative Torkelson. I know when you were chair of the Transportation Committee, we had some discussion on transit safety, and I appreciate coming in the interim to present this topic. I think it's an important topic, and we're all yours to listen to your presentation and have a good discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to be here. This House File 3110 is a newly introduced bill for this year, but certainly the issue of safety and security on our light rail system and on all transit has been an ongoing topic of discussion that we've talked about quite a bit in the last couple of years, and one that I've taken an interest in. I, of course, don't live in the metro, but I do use the system. And as a former chair of transportation, I'm here representing the state, not just any certain part of the state. This is really an effort, in my mind, to bring this topic to the forefront, give it thorough discussion. The system is not operated by the legislature. The system is operated by Metropolitan Transit under the umbrella of the Metropolitan Council. But we work in partnership with the Metropolitan Council. We supply a significant amount of funds from the state coffers to help with the supply of transit services here in the metropolitan area. I'm sure that this year's bonding bill will have some requests for state funds to help purchase new equipment on the system. It's a system that we've invested billions of dollars in, and we have the largest public works project in the history of the state is currently under construction in the Southwest Metro, another $2 billion plus of investment of state and county and federal money. I think it's really important to everyone that this system work well and that people feel safe when they're riding it. I do have a handout, Mr. Chair. Every time that my name has been mentioned in a news article regarding this issue, I get more emails from concerned citizens. I've just taken a few excerpts here from some of the emails I've gotten just to kind of demonstrate that it's not just a one-off thing, that there are lots of folks that are concerned about their safety when they're using this system. I've had the opportunity to ride other systems around the country, most recently in Sacramento, California. I was just there over the MLK weekend. Just so happened to ride their light rail train twice during the weekend I was there. And on one of those trips, there was a uniformed police officer on the car. So I don't know if that's typical, but for me, it was a 50-50 deal. I've ridden the light rail system in Denver from the airport to downtown Denver and had my ticket checked twice on the same trip. I've ridden the system here in the metropolitan area many times. I haven't counted, but of all those rides, I've only had my ticket ever checked one time. Fare evasion is certainly a real issue, but it's just one of many issues surrounding safety and security on our light rail system. This bill contains a number of ideas. Some of them are already being addressed by the Metropolitan Council, such as the security cameras. I understand that I believe it's in Sacramento, I didn't experience this, but they actually have they have live security cameras on the platform, and if somebody's misbehaving, they can call out over a loudspeaker and let them know they're misbehaving. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if that would work here in our area or not, but Mr. Chair, I believe we have someone here that works on the light rail system that would like to testify. I'm sure that person knows a lot more about this than I ever will.
Thank you, Representative Torkelson, and a lot of the discussion that we've had, thank you for bringing this bill forward, focuses on rider safety. Obviously, that's very important. But I have also received a lot of the emails and phone calls to my office that we also need to be concerned with the operators, the people that are driving the light rails and driving the buses. We've seen news reports of assaults of bus drivers, and Met Council will present a little bit after that. But Ms. Darling, I believe, you're welcome to sit next to Representative Torkelson and share your comments with the commission, please.
Well, thank you, Chair and members, for allowing me to.
Excuse me,
speak.
if you could also just please state your name for the record and then proceed.
Okay. My name is Honey Darling. I'm a light rail operator. This is the first meeting like this I've been to, so it's been very educational, so thank you. But a lot of the focus in the media has been on the public, and that is a very important issue, public safety. But one thing that gets left out is the workers. We have the train operators, and we have cleaners on the platform that are constantly assaulted, verbally, physically. There's not much that happens. It gets reported. Police come, and by that time, usually the criminal's gone. When we have criminal activity on the train, it goes on all night. We have went deaf ears pleading over the last couple of years for management, safety department, grievances, safety reports, begging people to please listen to us and help us with our safety. I've got operators that are scared to come to work. They're wondering if they're going to make it home. We've had murders on the platform. We've had murders on our train. We've had rapes, numerous rapes. At any given night, there are in excess of 100 people riding the train. Half of them aren't fully clothed. They're drinking. They're doing drugs, sexual activity, urinating, defecating on the train. When we call this in, we're lucky if police meet up with us. It's never hold your train and wait, which is what should be done. Instead, police will meet up with you somewhere along the line. Morning rush hour folks, standing room only on the train, they have to witness this type of behavior and deal with it. The train smells so bad. I've had operators had their jobs threatened. You would think that if we're in a cab with the door closed that we're not subject to any of this behavior, we don't have any of the smells, but our air system comes from the passenger compartment. And if you try opening a window, there's a vacuum system that it's even worse. So we've had an operator or two had to go to the hospital because of the drug usage on the train, the smells on the train, and he had to have some medication. He asked if he could wear a mask. Management actually threatened to send him back to the bus, said that he was not qualified to drive the train if he cannot handle these smells from all different types of drugs coming into his cab. So he's had his job threatened. At night, we have to clear our train, get everyone off. You can't pull them into the yard for the trains to be serviced and cleaned with people on the train. Most people are passed out, sleeping. There are people that are awake that refuse to get off the train. Police come. It could take 20 minutes. I've seen it take an hour and a half before police come. The train is just parked at Cedar Riverside waiting for the police to come. When police do kick them off the train, I've had operators that get berated by the police. Why don't you make an announcement? They get off for me. But we actually get cussed at. We get threatened. Going to the tail track. It's part of the track that's by Haywood Towers in downtown. We actually have operators that when the train pulls in, you have to get out and go to the other end to operate the train. There are people partying, doing drugs. Do not listen to announcements from operators to get off the train. That is a restricted area. I have asked for the police when I leave the Mall of America, which is approximately 45 minutes before you get to Target Field. I've asked, please have the police meet me at Target Field. The answer is no. They're out on another call. You need to try to sweep your train. You need to switch ins. While all these people, if they're sleeping, I personally don't have a problem. But when they're awake and they refuse to get off the train, they're doing drugs, they're partying, they're hanging out, operators have to walk through this in a dark area where no one can get to them by vehicle. You would have to walk down there. Police need to be there either on every train for a while until this criminal activity ends, and they need to be at Target Field to either clear the train out before it goes into the tail track, or they need to escort the operator. We have several operators that are scared. Like I said, one operator had called the other night at the or at the airport doing the shuttle. Individual that was drunk or on something was chasing him around and taking his shoes and his clothing off and throwing them at the operator. The operator manages to get into the cab, locks the door, and calls Control Center, RCC, and asks them if they could send the police. Police were going to be delayed because this is at Terminal 1. And so he asked if he could shut the doors because he was scared and depart the terminal a couple minutes early. RCC supervisor told him, no, you need to stay there and wait. And so obviously brings up concern, are we more worried about a schedule or safety of people's lives? Just because this is an operator doesn't mean it's any less important than the public. You need to hold people accountable for the rules. I go to work and I break the rules, I'm going to lose my job. However, people are on the train terrorizing it. We have them ripping the seats off, stealing them, actually opening a compartment where sand that helps stop the train in an emergency, they actually defecate in this compartment. And so now if the train needs to stop in an emergency, the sander is not coming out on the tracks to help the train stop. Safety problem. If you take care of your employees, I promise you they will take care of your business. And that's what's lacking from the Met Council and management at Light Rail. There's a lot of much needed money that transportation receives, but is wasted at Light Rail. Made up positions, promoting people that are family members. When we ask for ventilation systems so we can have fresh air and not breathe smoke and drugs in our cabs, they tell us it's too expensive. However, the live camera system, I think that's great, but I think we're ahead of ourselves. First, we need to have people on the train, officers, security, that are taking care of these problems. Live camera is not going to do you any good that a cop or RCC can watch what's going on the train. If people are not there, we have one of the largest police force, Metro Transit does. However, we don't have police officers, very many at night. You need to stop hiring officers that cannot work nights and weekends. All the officers are out in the day when most of the criminals are asleep on the train. They're not really causing problems at that point, other than the fact there's nowhere to sit. So we have dangerous biohazards riding up and down the tracks that people are getting on, and this is what they're riding in. Used bloody needles, crack pipes. This is seen all the time. Our track personnel that walks up and down the tracks that cleans the trash has to carry an actual container for needles, a sharp container for needles, because they have so many needles they have to pick up in the right-of-way and on the trains. All they have is rubber gloves. That's it. And they're picking up dirty needles, and this is what the public sees. We pull into the Mall of America, and security stands there, and late at night, they will not let anybody off our train because they're criminals. They're doing criminal behavior on the train. The Mall of America is closed, and they don't want them there. I have people the last 2 weekends that get off my train early in the morning. Mall of America security is standing there, and these women drop their pants and urinate all over the platform. Everyone, you walk there. You get it on your shoes. You may get it on a stroller. Put your purse down. You get it on that, and you take it home. And it stays there. Mall of America tells us, security, that it's not their jurisdiction. But they make sure that the people do not stay on their platforms. The airport is the same way. Late night trains goes through the airport. Airport police are standing on the platforms, and unless you have a suitcase and look like you're going to get on a plane, they will not let you off the train. Their employees have been assaulted. So if Mall of America security and the airport police notice what we are bringing into their areas and that we don't care about anybody's safety, then, I mean, what are you going to do about that? If they realize that, why can't we do something? I understand that it's cold outside and that homeless don't have a place to go. I get that. And this is not what this is about. It's about the criminal activity. Met Council has their hands in housing. Why can't you do something to have housing for the people that ride the train? Is it because there's no money that you'll get out of that? I don't understand why it's okay to have hundreds of people laying around on the train, sleeping, doing whatever they want, and it's okay. People come into the Twin Cities and they want to use the transit system. This is welcome to the Twin Cities. Come on here and look at these dirty needles, crack pipes, half-naked people laying all over. It's a mess. There's nowhere to sit. It's embarrassing. I love driving the train. I love my job. I've been in transportation for almost 18 years, and I've been a rail operator for a little over 6. I love it. But it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have this go on. I've had a man that was passed out with his penis in his hand at the Mall of America in morning rush hour. And I've called RCC, Rail Control Center, to tell them. They said the police will meet up. Morning rush hour, by the time I hit American Avenue station, the train is standing room only by people just like yourselves trying to come to work. Use the system for what it's made for and come to work. And they have to look at this man's penis while they're coming to work. A lot of people bring their children. They have daycare downtown or somewhere along the rail, and this is what their kids have to see. I am embarrassed, and I'm sorry, but Met Council should be ashamed. This is humiliating. So thank you very much. I do have a letter from an operator, took his time and wrote. I thought it was very good, and I'd like you to have it, sir.
Did you want to read the letter, or did you just want?
Well, we're kind of short on time, so he's actually here if you'd like him to read it to you. It probably means more coming from him, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, Jeff?
Welcome to the commission. For the record, if you could, this is audio recorded.
My name
If you
is,
could state your name and then read your letter.
And I am a light rail operator on the Blue Line.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was talking. Could you state your name again?
My name's Jeff Ziegler.
Okay, go ahead and proceed.
Okay, this is just what I wrote. I came to Metro Transit in October of 2017. I drove part-time bus at MJR Garage for 8 months. In the summer of 2018, I drove full-time bus at Nicollet Garage. In February 2019, I transferred finally to where I wanted to always go, to light rail. I retired from my truck driving job of 30 years back in Ohio, sold my house, moved from Ohio to Coon Rapids specifically to do light rail for Metro Transit. I went through 9 weeks of training and turned out successfully as a light rail operator. Two of the things I noticed about light rail was much more intense focus on safety and signals. Focus on these two factors is a full-time job. It's important that, I provide a safe ride for people from point A to point B. And focusing on that safety is everything that I was trained to do, and it's what I do best. Over the last year of light rail operation, my job has gotten much more dangerous and unsafe, putting the safety of me and my passengers at risk. I no longer feel safe at work. I'm dealing, in addition to the job I was trained to do, with people who are belligerent and violent toward others and toward myself. They're drunk, on drugs, gangs of youth vandalizing the trains, kicking in doors to unused operators' cabs, cracking and breaking windows, vandalizing and destroying seats, and threatening and causing fights with other passengers. I'm dealing with homeless people who urinate, defecate, puke, and trash up my trains. I have passengers smoking cigarettes and marijuana regularly, drinking beer and booze openly, people selling and using drugs on board, including leaving their bloody used needles behind on the floors and on the seats. When I run the late-night trains, many are passed out and sleeping, sometimes so many that there are few places for paying customers to stand, let alone sit. I'm required to also, at the end of my run, to clear the passengers so I can pull the train in for cleaning and maintenance. Rarely can I do this. Many are passed out and I can't wake them, and when I do wake them, I'm afraid they will lunge at me with a knife or a gun. Many refuse to leave the train and tell me to call the police. They don't care. Then I have to wait for the police to arrive to clear the train so I can pull the train in. Sometimes the police take hours to arrive, usually meaning I'm stuck there not knowing what may happen in the interim. Sometimes I'm lucky it's at Target Field where there are lights and cameras. Sometimes RCC makes me wait at Cedar Riverside, which is mostly dark and unsafe. 2 Wednesdays ago, on the train directly ahead of me, there was a murder on the train. Last Saturday night, a gang of unruly teenagers and young people held my train hostage for 11 minutes, holding my doors open, throwing homeless people's belongings throughout the train and on the platform, breaking 2 of my passenger doors, which I had to leave my cab and take out of service. They were not repairable. This happened at Lake Street Midtown Station. RCC was aware of this situation. No police anywhere. I ended up at Mall of America 17 minutes late. The police walked my trains at MOA long after the thugs had left the train or passed out from their alcohol or drugs. This is becoming common. I cannot calm down when I get home due to trauma caused on the job. It affects my ability to do the job I was trained to do. I've driven commercial vehicles for 33 years. I know I can do this. I love trains and I love to do it well. I love to serve the people of the Twin Cities. I care about my job. I care about my train. Metro Transit has a great thing here with light rail. It's a showcase of what the Twin Cities has to offer. Everybody loves trains. Kids love trains, adults, tourists, business people. Right now we have a dangerous, unsanitary, unsafe, dirty mode of transit to offer our guests visiting and our citizens. Those trains are my office. They're my workplace. With the murder 2 weeks ago, I now have to ask myself every day, am I going home tonight? Am I going home? Am I going to HCMC on a gurney? Major surgery? Or am I going to HCMC in a black body bag? Customers are now murdering each other. When are they going to turn their club, their knife, or gun to me? Something has to be done now. It's so unsafe. I'm contemplating leaving a job I waited 56 years to do. I appreciate your time.
Well, we appreciate you coming here and sharing your story. I know it's emotional. Could you restate your name for the committee members?
My name is Jeff Ziegler.
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 Senator Pratt, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Ziegler, for your testimony. Mike, I'm very concerned about the safety of your workplaces, as you stated, and I guess my question, have you or your colleagues filed a complaint with the Department of Labor around the working conditions that you have?
I have not. I have, however, spoken numerous times to members of management of my direct supervisors and superiors at Metro Transit on the Blue Line.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Ziegler. Are you aware if they've escalated those concerns to Met Council members?
I currently am not aware that they have done that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think Representative Torkelson, did you have any other comments, or we can kind of move into the discussion and you can participate from the Met Council? Or
Well, I would just have to add, Mr. Chair, to thank these folks for stepping up. It takes some guts to do that. It's alarming, but it does match up with many of the things I've been hearing anecdotally from passengers on this system. I don't think the legislature wants to take over and try and run the light rail system. It's Metropolitan Transit and Met Council's job to get this back in order. They're taking some steps, but I'm not sure they're being aggressive enough, and I look forward to further discussions around this issue.
thank you. Representative Runbeck?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question of Jeff. There are such things, I guess, as incident reports. Is that in your system? And are you drivers filing these reports, and are they being acted upon?
Mr. Ziegler?
To my knowledge, we're filing reports. But with the continued escalation, as I see it, and I experience it on a weekly basis, I don't know that too much is being done about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator Dibble?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Ziegler and the previous testifier for what you do, for the service you provide every day. Public service is important, and what you do is vital for a lot of people. So thank you for that, and thank you both for coming forward to talk about what you've been seeing and experiencing. And I'm sorry for your experience and the trauma that you're feeling around it, especially because, as you said, it was a dream job for you. So I just appreciate your time and your testimony, and know that you have my commitment as a member of the minority party in the Senate to do what I can to work with the majority party, and I know Representative Hornstein over on the House side as well, who takes the green line every day, is committed to working on these problems.
Thank you, Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to thank Representative Torkelson, and he is, I know that he takes the green line to work when he's here during session, and we have talked about this issue for many years, so this isn't something that he's just coming up with now. And I know that we had a hearing with the then Chief Harrington a couple of years ago when you were chair of the Finance Committee, and there were some steps taken as a result of that, but I think that we do need to act on this in this session legislatively. I don't think we had bills at that time, and I know that Representative Torkelson has some ideas here before us, and House File 3110, Representative Tabke has some ideas, and so it's my intention in the Transportation Finance Committee to hear these ideas, and hopefully we can borrow from both of these bills and move forward with something relatively early in the session. So, and then Mr. Ziegler, again, thank you for your service. I'm a beneficiary of it. As Senator Dibble said, I don't drive, I take transit every day, and we need to, make sure we have a very good and safe system. So we will be acting on this in the legislature this year.
Thank you, Representative Hornstein. I appreciate that commitment, and I think this is an opportunity to show that this commission actually can work together on some important issues that is important to our constituents. Representative Runbeck has a question, and then we'll have the Met Council give their presentation, and hopefully we'll still have enough time for further discussion. Representative
Mr. Chair, I was just hoping we would hear some response. I know we want a longer hearing on this, but if there is going to be some response from them, that was my question. Are they responding? Are they responding to the information we have heard, Mr. Chair? To the Met Council, yes.
We have some of their representatives today because we did change the meeting time to accommodate as many of the members as we could. The chair, new chair Zelli, was unable to be here for previous commitments, as well as the chief of police. So, but it's still good to have the conversation. So, thank you for your testimony. If I believe Mr. Shetland. Oh, Representative Masin, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Because they did mention the fact that there are live cameras on board and the security police, it might be helpful to tell us exactly who is watching the cameras, and then also where are the security police for the light rail.
Okay, if it's not covered, feel free to ask again and bring it in discussion. Mr. Shetland, thank you for being at the committee. My apologies to the other invited guests that we had to juggle schedules around. It's kind of hard when we don't have a standing committee to get 14 members of the legislature together, but I appreciate their efforts, and I'm glad that you're here. And if you could, we did have to, because of time, cut out a little bit on the bus driver issue, but I'll leave it up to you. We've got about 20 minutes. I don't want you to have that much time. If you can have about 10 minutes or so, and then maybe some member questions.
Great. Well, Mr. Chair and members, my name is Judd Shetland. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Metropolitan Council, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Just to follow up on what Chair Kosnick mentioned, Chair Zelli, our General Manager at Metro Transit West Koistra, are not available today. For the previous meetings that we had set, we were prepared to have the Chairman and the General Manager available, even if the meeting was going to be at 10 o'clock this morning. And so it is definitely not a slight to anyone that Chair Zelli or our General Manager are not here. And I want everybody to know that, because we went so far as to meet Representative Kosnick in his district last week with General Manager West Koistra in order to make sure they knew that we were taking this as serious as what we are hearing about today. So I think I'll try to respond to some of the comments that were made, and we'll just hang tight on the bus driver piece here, and if we have a few minutes, then we'll get to that. But I just want folks to know that this is really difficult for us to hear as well, and we take our transit safety very, very serious, and I want to reserve our comments related to what we're doing for our chairman and for our general manager. I think it is most appropriate for them to do that, and they will, and they'll be happy to do that. I know that Representative Hornstein has called a meeting of his committee next Thursday to talk about Representative Tapke's bill. Both our general manager and chairman will be there, so at least on the House side, we'll have the opportunity to ask questions of them and what we're doing and what we're proposing. But it is difficult to hear that, and we know that this is an issue, and we view the legislature as our partner with this, and I know that this is something that we've talked about in the past as well, and frankly, we need your help to be able to achieve some of the things that we are pursuing. I do want you to know that there are things that we have invested in currently to help deal with this, but it is not the total solution to this, and we know it. But with that, we have added additional time for our police officers overtime. We've also improved our text to safety, so if something is happening on the train, that there is a opportunity to be able to react to that more quickly. We have, as was mentioned previously, we do now have live cameras that are going to be installed on our trains, which we hope will be able to be a force multiplier for us that is going to allow us to react to issues quicker. And the last piece of it that we are needing your help on, at least right here, is our idea to bring forward a ability to have someone other than a police officer be able to write a ticket and be able to check fares and have that presence on the train, because we think that that will have a calming effect. Hopefully, if we have more presence throughout the system, that will help address some of the issues that we're having. Now, is that the whole solution? No, I'll be the first to admit it's not. I know when Chair Zelli is here, he will tell you the same, as well as our general manager. But we need the legislature in order to allow us to be able to implement that, because right now, statute only allows a sworn police officer to be able to write that ticket. We're proposing through Representative Tapke's bill, through a proposal that we brought forward last session with Representative Masin and Senator Franzen, allowed us to look at how we would put forward an administrative citations program. Representative Tapke's bill goes further with that, and I am asking you to make sure that you can help us bring that forward, because we need your help on that. Just to expand on that a bit further, what we also are proposing to do with that bill is to change the fare evasion penalty from a gross misdemeanor to a petty misdemeanor, putting it on par with a unpaid parking ticket. Currently, if you get a fare evasion ticket, you are, again, being charged with a misdemeanor and that $180 fine. We think that that's more on course with a petty misdemeanor, And then that also allows us then to have those other ambassadors, agents, fare checkers, whatever the term that we're going to work out with the legislature to be able to have that presence and do more work related to making sure that folks are behaving on the train. We do not support folks smoking on the train, smoking marijuana on the train. These are all activities that we want to make sure are being diminished. And I know that we have some fantastic transit advocates on this committee who I talk to on a regular basis who can vouch that we need to make improvements. And I'm imploring you to help us work with you in order to make at least these first few steps on it. And I also want to speak briefly to Representative Torkelson's bill. We are happy to work with Representative Torkelson on this. We believe, that some of the things that he points out in his bill, as he mentioned, are things we're working on. One of them is the administrative citations piece of it. We would like to get rolling on that, but we are clearly open to continuing to do this. Last thing I will say is there is a cost to this. And so when we talk about how we're going to do this, we have been working with the legislature and operating on one-time money for a long time. We need to make sure that if we're going to make ongoing commitments, that we do it with ongoing funding. And so I just don't want to lose track of the fact that if it's going to be something ongoing and sustainable, we need to make sure that we can afford it. But with that, again, I appreciated the comments that our partners, our drivers were making as well. And I want you to know that we do not take this lightly. And to talk about what we want to do more broadly, I really want to reserve that for our chairman and for our general manager. So thank you for letting me ramble on with that, but we hear you loud and clear, and we understand this, and we are trying to take the reins ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Shetland. Can you talk a little bit about a code of conduct on the light rail, if you're able to? I don't mean to get detailed or anything, but there is an established one, I'm told. Is that right?
Mr. Chair and members, I would prefer to allow our general manager to speak to that. I know that we I guess I should just let the general manager speak to that.
Mr. Shetland, we had talked in previous committee hearings in previous years for the Metro Transit. Did they have like a 4 officers that were kind of working with the homeless population on the trains and that? If you could share with the commission here a little bit about that, if you refresh my mind a little bit, and then talk about how effective that has been, or
right.
I'm guessing it needs to be more effective than it currently is.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think you're referring to our homeless action team, which is made up of some police officers that are working on our system in order to make sure that those unsheltered have a opportunity to get to housing. Folks may recall that back in August, we implemented the fact that we were shutting our the Central Corridor trains down overnight. Makes sense for maintenance reasons that we are able to get and do some of that work while the trains aren't running. But I will tell you that our general manager, Wes Koistra, will be very excited to be able to talk to you about the work that our homeless action team is undertaking, and that we are not a social service agency, but we are also part of the fabric of this society, and we realize that transit is a piece of that, and we want to make sure that we are playing our role in it, but we also want to make sure that our partners are making sure that they are holding up their end, and we are I think making some really good headway related to that. But I am definitely not the spokesperson who can go into the detail related to that specific program.
Thank you. Representative Joachim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Shetland for talking a little bit about the homeless action team. I think you're running into a lot of what all our other public goods do between schools and libraries and transit. Folks come to all those to use those services with some of the baggage and the issues that they're carrying with them. And while you don't provide a social service aspect to it, you realize, just like the rest of us have realized, that sometimes we're called upon to actually have to try to put Band-Aids on the sieve and fix that problem that's in front of us, unfortunately. But until we have that broader conversation about stemming some of those tides before they get into our public institutions, unfortunately, that's just going to continue to happen.
Representative Runbeck?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for your comments, Mr. Shetnan, and I'm hopeful we'll be able to get into this a little further. I think that the discussion today kind of points to some serious mismanagement issues at Metro Transit. I mean, you know, it's a public agency. It's supposed to serve customers. And I'd just like to add a couple of items. I mean, we've heard about driver shortage, but we haven't had any material presented and made available on how that is going. There's also the issue of excessive driver overtime. And I'm waiting for your report from last year, but overtime in the amount of $25 million every biennium. And if we have a driver shortage, we're cutting runs, which of course we've heard about in the last year. Many, many bus runs are being cut or shortened, eliminated. How is all this related? I mean, there is something going on that we need to know more about. So when you have overtime of 18%, that's 18% of regular pay for drivers and operators is overtime, then it's built in, it's structured, it's intentional. And we need to know more about how you're, you know, trying to resolve these issues, how you're trying to actually hire folks that are going to stay a regular and full-time driver and so on. And then what is the role of the part-time driver? You have part-time drivers, but they're not allowed to actually fill in when there are people who can't come because of sickness. It's a pool of folks. And, you know, there's a lot of questions about what is really going on and why are we allowing sort of, you know, nobody seems to be in charge and making good decisions from the top down. We need to know, I guess, that there are better things in store for the future. So I will just leave it at that. But I mean, I have spoken with Representative Hornstein about this. I have a bill to require the OLA to do an audit, to do an investigation. We don't see overtime like that in other agencies. So I'll just leave it at that. But I hope we can take up this related matter too to Metro Transit.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Hold on a second. Representative Rumbeck, I appreciate the comments, and I do want to apologize. You were on the agenda to have a discussion about the bus safety with our recess. It was my choice to kind of skip over that so we could get to some of the testifiers that were here. We do have a little bit of time, Mr. Shetnan, if you would like to respond.
Great. Representative Rumbeck, we have communicated to you that it is necessary for us to close the books on our calendar year budget, similar literally to what we did last year, and we've committed to doing that. So it has, it's just we need to make sure that we wrap that up so we can provide you those numbers. And that is just the course that we have to take in order to do that. I was going to mention that we were ready to have the discussion about the bus driver shortage and how we were working to retain and recruit folks in order to do that. The broader conversation related to mismanagement and how things are being operated, that is definitely a conversation to have either with the chairman, who I'd like to remind the folks started maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and then our general manager. But we're happy to have those conversations. We don't shy away from them. I'm also going to remind the committee that we had, not only are we audited by the state auditor, that a bill passed 2 years ago or 3 years ago that had the legislative auditor, the legislative auditor do quarterly audits of our funding that the legislative auditor brought forward last year to dismiss that because they found no issues with how the council does our spending.
We have Senator Pratt and Representative Joachim have questions, so we'll go with that, and then we'll kind of wrap up this discussion. Members, I think it's a good, very important policy area that we need to help, and I, for one, and I think we need to be partners and willing to work with the Met Council. Like I like to say, it's easy for them to be a punching bag for us, and I think it's our responsibility, though, to try to help work for solutions for them. Senator Pratt first.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Shetman. I want to thank our operators for coming and testifying today too. I think it's nice to hear that you have plans. but the actions and the changes, as I heard today, aren't being seen by our operators, and not, I don't think this is an attempt to beat up on the Met Council, but I have really serious concerns that you have an obligation to ensure the safety of your riders and your operators, and it's not happening. I'm concerned that reports are being perceived as not being acted upon, right? If these operators are submitting incident reports and there's no follow-up, and you haven't indicated that any of that has risen up to the executive level in the Met Council, is a concern. I'm concerned that employees are being threatened with their jobs when they raise concerns. And I would expect that the next time we get together, somebody be able to talk about not just what we're thinking about doing, because cameras only show you what's happening. They don't actually stop somebody from doing anything. I would expect that you should be able to come not only with a timeline of when changes are going to be made, but I want to see a self-audit, if not an OLA audit, of what's happening with these incident reports, because it sounds very similar to what was happening with the elder abuse reports that were being filed and ignored by DHS in the past. And I'd hate to see that happening here. And I think with the scrutiny that's been raised in some of these other agencies, that this is something that the legislature needs to be made aware of. And I just find it very concerning that at least the perception from your testimony and from the operators is that these concerns are being ignored and not getting the right level of scrutiny. And I would also, quite honestly, encourage the Department of Labor to go in and start looking at these safety concerns as well.
Mr. Shetland, briefly, otherwise we'll move on to Representative
Senator
Yoakim.
Brad, I appreciate your comments. I will certainly see what's going on, and I will be seeing, a lot of all of you here in about a week. So we'll make sure we circle back on that. I will also say that, some of the things that we are doing, I just want to reiterate, we need the legislature's help in order to do this. And so like I said, we're not coming back with the full equation of what we're going to do, but a couple of things that we're going to do, we can't do without your assistance.
Representative Yoakim, we have roughly about 4 minutes, and we want to.
I'll be very quick. Chair
business afterwards.
Kosnick, I want to thank you for mentioning that we have to come to the table to find solutions and not necessarily demonize actually the mode of transit too. I think sometimes it gets short shrift when we start talking about those riders and that mode of transit, and that it's the mode of transit's problem for something our whole society has created. So I appreciate the fact that you talked about coming together for that. One quick question for Mr. Shetland. Remind me again what your starting drivers at hourly rate. I believe.
Madam Chair, just one second. I'm going to phone a friend.
I thought it was like $17.50.
For the record, Mr. Chair, Representative Yoakim is $20.44.
Thank you, and Mr. Shetland and Mr. Chair. I think you're facing some of the same things as school districts are facing, and I've heard this on our committee as well. There is a shortage of drivers everywhere. And some of the school districts are able to go above that cost because we subsidize them, frankly, a lot more than we subsidize Met Council, and able to pay their drivers more. So not only are you working in a tight market, you're competing against other public entities that are able to hire drivers. So I want us to also keep that in mind with the driver shortage. It's not just Met Council. This is everywhere.
And Mr. Chair, just to add to that real quickly, just because we're running out of time today, I'm going to email the presentation that we have prepared to go through related to the operator shortfall, and then I'm happy to catch up with people next week. If you want to shoot me an email back, we can have that conversation. Mr. Funk from Metro Transit, who oversees that, is here, and we would be happy to come visit with you or any of the committees to have that conversation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Shetland. And then, members, item number 7, other business as determined by the chair. I want to apologize to the public and those that had to wait earlier today. It was not necessary. It's no surprise that politics happens here at the Capitol, but it shouldn't come out the way it did today. So I apologize and thank you for waiting and your patience. I think it was an important discussion that we had today. I was honored to be the chair for today's meeting and to have been duly elected. I didn't appreciate the manner in which an out of order motion was made, but I understand. You can talk to me about the issues behind there, but at this point, I would resign from being the chair of the committee and turn it over to Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and you know, I would echo your concerns. You know, certainly you made the correct ruling on the motion, and you know, we can talk about custom and usage, which has been selectively considered through some of these commissions, but I'm concerned that we were willing to overrule your right call on that issue for the sake of politics. But now that we lack a chair, I would open up nominations for a new chair. Senator Kosnick, or Representative Kosnick.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Didn't mean to offend you.
I would like to nominate Representative Masin.
Okay, Representative Masin is nominated. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, and with only one candidate, we'll do this by voice vote. All those in favor of Representative Masin becoming chair of the Metropolitan Governments Commission signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations, Representative Masin. And thank you, Representative Kosnick, for your service today.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Dibble.
I just wanted to concur with Representative Kosnick, other than the little interruption in the middle there. This was a good meeting. I appreciate this agenda that he put together. These were important presentations and important discussions to have, so I want to say thank you to Representative Kosnick for this. And it's very timely. As we move into the legislative session, we need to deal with these issues.
So with the concurrence of the new chair, and without objection, this meeting will stand adjourned.